Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is a Friday evening, 8 p.m., or maybe a couple minutes after. I am Vince Elliott, the Vince Elliott. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching this on the replay, just hit replay in the comments. If you're watching us live, make sure you let us know you're here and put something in the comments. This is our first official show. I don't know if that's fair to say, actually, because we did do what I consider to be a soft launch on Monday, Memorial Day, and it was a show within its own rights. And so we had the president from the Rosa Parks Foundation join us. We had Joshua and Rhonda Smith, who are part of the Rosa Parks Foundation and had done some great things in the community. We had them on the show. We also had Sherry Henderson, Dr. Sherry Henderson, who talked about the franchise enterprise. And we had Dylan Lovelace, who talked about some entrepreneurial opportunities with Natural Nature's Technology. I'm sorry. So today is a totally different vibe. Understand, first of all, this is a new show, and we're going to be constantly improving every show. That's my intent, to improve every show with the technology, with the way we deliver content and information. So if you're new to the show is about information, education, inspiration, motivation, and yes, some comedy. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a jovial person, and I love comedy. I love making people laugh. It's just part of my nature and who I am. Now, today I did switch up the format just a little bit because I have a really serious topic today, and I thought, you know what? The vibe that I'm on today is just not about going from comedy to this topic. So I purposely did not do an opening skit, an opening bit. Last time we did an opening bit with Little V, and then we went to talk or hear from Miss Ruby. And today I decided we're not going to do that because the state of affairs is so urgent right now and what we need to talk about that I didn't want to do that. So I thank you guys for joining. If you're on, make sure you put something in the comments. Let me know you're here. And listen, I got a lot that I need to say, so let me just jump right into it. First thing is this. I want you guys to, I'm looking over here at my list of information that I have, and I'm not seeing where I have the link to the YouTube page. So right now we're streaming on two platforms, Facebook, where most of you are joining us from, and YouTube. I'm going to ask you to take this opportunity to look for The Vince Elliott on YouTube. It's a brand new YouTube channel, and so you're not going to see a whole lot of videos on there, anything like that. The reason I want you to go to The Vince Elliott on YouTube and watch this from there is because I believe that the content on what we're going to talk about tonight is going to be of such a nature that it's possible our Facebook stream could get cut off. And the reason I say that, I'm not saying that because I want that to happen. I'm saying that because I was watching Roland Martin, who I can't even do justice to describe how much the wealth of information that he gives on his live stream. Many of you know him from when he was airing on the networks and what have you on cable, but now he's taking it to the live stream. But strangely enough, you know, when he got really rolling about his content and really start, you know, touching on Mike Zuckerberg, Mike Zuckerberg? What's his name? Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg. All of a sudden his stream, you know, started freezing up. And I said, well, maybe, you know, it's kind of, you know how things go. So I went and I checked other live streams and everybody was working fine on Facebook. So listen to me, find The Vince Elliott. When you find it on YouTube, not only do I want you to go there and watch the stream from there, it's fine if you continue watching here, but I need you at some point to go to the YouTube channel, Live with Vince Elliott, and subscribe so that you are and hit the bell so you're notified when we go live with our content. I would really like for you to go there now, subscribe, and watch it from YouTube, The Vince Elliott. And that way, if by chance we should get cut off, I don't think we're going to also get cut off on YouTube. So I will be mentioning that throughout the broadcast. Now, that being said, let me lay the groundwork for what we're going to talk about today. Today, the title is Black People, Wake Up. Okay, now I know there's a lot of uproar about the recent white cops killing black people. And there's a lot of information, a lot of things going on, people talking about, you know, what happened, how it happened. I'm not trying to be another funnel, if you will, to repeat the same information. In fact, I'm going to approach this conversation tonight from a totally different aspect. Hey, Carol Smith, I want people to think critically. And if you know me, I'm not ashamed of my belief system. My faith as a Christian, I'm going to often relate throughout these shows to my faith and what I believe. And so the Bible talks about I got so many thoughts going through my head, I kind of lost my train of thought, but I'll get back to it. The thing is that we have to think critically. Oh, be slow to speak, but listen. I'm using my own word, I'm kind of translating, the words a little bit, but be slow to speak, quick to hear. Okay. So before because I'm going to say some things that are probably going to be, argumentative, debatable, what have you. We all have our opinions. That's fine. I'm not here to be argumentative on purpose. I want you to slow down, listen to the full context of what I have to say tonight. And I do have a guest tonight, and I'm going to introduce him here shortly. But I want you to slow down and listen to what I have to say. And I want you to really take that in, because let me just say off the top, I'm enraged. I'm angered. I'm frustrated. I'm saddened. I'm saddened for the country. I'm saddened for African Americans. I'm saddened for our children. I'm saddened for the families of those who have been victims of police brutality. I'm saddened for those who've been victims of black on black crime. I'm not surprised, though. I'm not surprised at the fact that we had more of the same with Mr. Floyd. I'm not surprised at the reaction of the people when swift and appropriate action was not taken. I'm not advocating rioting, let's be clear, but I'm not surprised that this police officer not only in the onset was getting away with it, but the casual nature in which he felt comfortable doing this in broad daylight. Not at night and behind, some bushes somewhere, not in the day behind a building in an alley in somebody's house, making sure nobody's looking. On the street in broad daylight with cameras rolling. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time reliving, rehashing, showing you video of what took place. Many of you knew or know what took place. So tonight, I want you to be slow to speak and quick to hear. I want you to listen at what I'm saying, and I'm going to be sharing with you some things that I've seen online that many of you may have seen as well. That's not the footage of what took place, but I want to turn this conversation into, what are you going to do now? What are we going to do now? Now that we've seen all of this going on, over the years, we can talk about, what happened during Martin Luther King's day and where we are today. We can make the argument that black people have come a long way, but are we satisfied with that based on the state of current affairs? I don't think so. I think the rioting speaks for itself. Again, not advocating rioting, not saying that it was good, but what caused the rioting. And I'm going to suggest to you that what we're doing is not enough. I'm going to suggest to you that what we need to do is swift and aggressive action, but it's not violence. But I believe it will get swift results. I'm going to suggest to you that, yes, you need to vote, but voting ain't going to get it done. Yeah, I told you I was going to say some things to you that some people might, I don't know, V, I'm not sure what you're saying here. I'm going to suggest to you that voting is not going to get it done. Yes, go ahead and vote. But voting in itself is not going to get it done. Because guess what? They're going to change the rules to the game. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. You're a black person. You're in District 49. Yeah, sorry about that. We moved District 49 on the other side of town about 15 minutes before we opened. I don't know. I mean, you're not going to, You're not going to be able to, oh, you don't have any transportation to get over there? Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, that's just what they told us. Oh, wait a minute. You don't have 3 pieces of ID? You need 4 pieces today. You need 4 pieces of ID. Oh, yeah, you can't. Oh, no, you really can't vote from home. No, that's not constitutional or what it was meant for. They're going to come up with anything to change the rules of the game. So, oh, wait a minute. Electoral college. Did I mention electoral college? See, the way it works is, yeah, you can vote for your guy, but see, the way the electoral college works, your guy didn't win. I'm sorry. And here's the thing. Let's suppose that my argument is weak. All right? I'm going to grant you the possibility that my argument is weak. Even if your guy gets in there, please show me one president, love Barack Obama included, show me one president that has changed the plight of the African American person where we now have economic, educational balance that we've been fighting for since slavery, where it has changed our lives as a whole. Don't talk to me about, well, we got, African American million. I'm talking about by and large. I'm not talking about the 1%. I'm not talking about if we had 10%, that wouldn't be enough. Okay? I'm talking about the average black African American person, that our lives have been so changed because we voted in the right guy. It's not going to get it done. I submit to you that we have within our own power the ability to force quick and swift, effective change without violence. And I'm not talking about marching. Go ahead and march. It's your right. I think it sends a message. Go ahead and protest. That's your right. It sends a message. You can march, you can protest, you can vote, and you'll still have the same results that you have. I'm going to play something for you. I'm going to play something for you real quick before I introduce my guest. I want you to listen to this.
Before you call the cops, I just want you to know the first thing that I did when I woke up this morning was yell at my alarm clock. My parents were raised in the South. I have to roll Tide or they'll disown me. They raised me in Las Vegas. That city still has my heart. I hate spiders. I'm a vegetarian. I'm not proud about it. I've done goat yoga. I'm really not proud about that. I can tell you every single word off the NWA Straight Outta Compton album. I can also sing you every single word from Oklahoma. Bananas are disgusting. I am a Christian. I spend almost every Sunday morning teaching kids in Sunday school. I am often asked if I am Muslim. I'm okay with that. I'm pretty much convinced if you met my mother, you'd automatically become a better person. My father is a veteran. He taught me how to say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, to everyone that I meet. I don't hate our president. I pray for him. I love basketball and also hockey. This is my brother, James. This is my brother, Mike. This is my brother, John. And this is my brother, Rob. I've never been to jail. I've never owned a gun. I hate that anyone at all might possibly be afraid of me. I'd go around the world and back again if I knew that single act might make your day better. I'm a proud man. I'm a proud black man. Does any of this really matter? No. I just wanted you to get to know me better before you called the cops.
Now, remember earlier I said to you, be slow to speak, be quick to listen. We've got way too much divisiveness amongst African Americans, blacks, Negroes, whatever you identify with, people of color, which is why it's very difficult for us to get things done that we have control over. That being said, as my disclaimer, I love what he said, right? I think it was very well put together. I'm a producer. I produced commercials, videos, television shows, etc. I love the way the production was done. I love the message that it brought. And I'm going to warn you in advance, I'm not going to try, should it arise, to hold back any emotion, because I told you earlier, I'm enraged, I'm angry, I'm saddened, I'm frustrated, I'm fed up, yet I'm not surprised. So if I get a little whatever, I'm not going to apologize for that. But as well as he put that together, that means nothing to the racist. The racist cop is not going, oh, so I guess you're just like me. Maybe next time I won't put my knee on his neck. I understand what the message was. Hear me. I get it. What I'm saying to you is voting in itself is not going to get it. Protesting is not going to get it. Marching is not going to get it. Messages like that, we can do all four of those things I just named, and yet it will continue because a true racist, people who are in charge, are not moved by that because their values, albeit wrong, are deeply rooted, deeply seated, generational foolishness that's been bound up into their hearts and minds. And that, I will go as far as to say, as wonderful as that message is not the greatest use of our time and resources to make change. That is not going to do anything for the people who are oppressing us. So now I want you to listen to something else.
Where do we go after countless decades and centuries of oppression, of being killed, of being lynched, of being burned alive, of seeing our mothers and our daughters raped, of seeing our men killed, our men emasculated in front of the mothers and the children to put fear in them, years of being beaten, legislation passed, persecuted just for how we look? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? How long will we keep marching on the streets? How long will we keep sharing the photos and the hashtags? And we have NAACP. They put out these weak calls to action. We got Jesse Jackson and we got Al Sharpton. We have all these pseudo leaders who get up and say things. When will we actually formulate together like our ancestors did? When will we capture the power like in Montgomery, Alabama, when not one single black person rode a bus? If you were black, you were walking or you were carpooling with somebody else black. They created the first Uber system. And they said, we won't ride the bus till we get equality. The only way as a people that we will get any change is if we unite solidarity with the dollar. I guarantee you, if for one day in America, not one black person spent $1, not online, not on Amazon, no fast food places, no restaurants, no stores. If for one day, July 7, 2020, we got 60 days. Today, right now marks 60 days exactly that we have for you guys to spread this message. Share it, please. Comment, share it, like it, share it to anybody. Send it in the messages, send it in the DMs for 60 days. If we share this message, share it on Instagram, share it on YouTube, share it on Facebook. If we get enough black people, all black people, if we can unite like they did in Montgomery, Alabama, where not one single black person rode a bus. That right there is what caused the civil rights legislation to come, because they touched them pockets. Because they said, we're not spending our money in your system no more until we get change. If we could do it for one day, it would shut the whole system down. Not one black person spent $1. I guarantee you we'll get change. Because the only way we're going to get change is when they fear hurting us like we fear hurting them.
That's what I'm talking about. I agree 99% with what he said. But here's where I differ. We just spent almost 3 months in quarantine. And many of us came to the realization that we could survive without some of the things that we thought we could not live without. If you really want to make swift change, African Americans are spending a greater amount than the representation of us that are here. In other words, one person is spending more than the average for one person in America. One African American person is representing more than one individual in America, the average of that one individual spending. You get what I'm saying, right? I don't know the exact percentages, but we make up a larger amount of the spending than the amount of people that are in America. We have the greatest buying power. So where I disagree is that one day don't cut it. You know why it doesn't cut it? Yeah, it would maybe make a dent, except for this. And remember in the beginning, if you didn't catch the beginning, go back and listen to my disclaimers. Slow to speak, quick to hear. I said to you that I'm going to say some things that you might not agree with, that you might be offended by, but I need you to think. Historically, because a lot of us are too comfortable, we got jobs with benefits, we got 401ks, we got a car or two. Some of us live in a decent neighborhood, or we like where we live. Some of us are too comfortable. So you know what we would do historically? Oh, let's see, what day is that? Yeah, I'm just going to double down the day or the week before and go get what I like and what I need. I'm not going to spend no money on that day, but let me order in advance, or let me go buy it in advance, because I'm solidarity. I'm not going to spend any money that day, but I'm going to spend it a week, a day or two before. Let me get my order in because I'm not spending no money on that day. Or let me double down the day or the week after. No, you just went through 3 months without some of the things that you thought you couldn't live without. We don't start spending in those places, in those ways, until we get some real results. Now I'm gonna step on your toes a minute, but before I get to that, I'm gonna go ahead and bring in my guest, because I can go on, and I will, but I want to bring in my guest and allow him to have some input on what I'm saying. So allow me to introduce my guest, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about him, but I'm going to allow him to come on and tell even more about who he is. So, ladies and gentlemen, my guest tonight is a professional speaker, trainer, author, and educator. He and his team of consultants have utilized his experience and research in school culture to successfully turn around 3 failing public schools and 1 private Christian academy. His trainings and strategies help to change school culture, increase parental engagement, student enrollment, and student retention. To support schools with enrollment and performance, he launched the online life skills leadership course for boys called Future Man Success Prep. His purpose to transform institutions and individuals is obvious, and when he speaks, his passion is infectious. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for my man, Mr. Carlos Johnson, aka Coach Carlos. Yeah, man. Oh, let me get you unmuted. There you go. How are you, sir?
Hey man, I'm well, brother. I feel like I should have flown in, man, after that intro, man. That's
well,
right.
I tell you what,
you can introduce me anytime.
Well, earlier when we tested, we had our sound check. We had your audio, it was synced, and for some reason, it's not synced. Hopefully it syncs back up. But, the bottom line is we see you, we hear you.
Yeah.
And hopefully all of that, works out. But either way, we'll get the message.
Yeah.
I am, as you've been listening, I'm just beside myself that we have within our power to do something about this, and rioting is not the answer. In fact, I think with what I've already introduced, and I'm going to go more into that here shortly, sure, we can get just as swift, if not swifter, action with the economic standpoint of it. So I want you to continue with the introduction and help people understand why I felt it was important for you to come on, because I talked about the education piece, because, and first of all, let me say this, education and economics are the 2 pillars of what it's going to take to make change for African Americans, Black people, people of color in this country. So I want you in your, introduction to talk about your work as it relates to helping to build up Black young men. Go for it.
Sure. Well, I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm an activist, and my field of activism is in education. Others may be an activist in other industries or on other fields. I chose education as my field to be active in, my field to transform lives, because as you just so appropriately said, in this day and age, your access, your entry card, your fee into the economic system is education. And without it, you're shut out, you're blocked out. You won't have to worry about someone putting, putting you in slavery or putting chains on your ankles. If your mind is chained up, you are enslaved for the rest of your life willingly. So education for me is the place where I chose to be an activist in. And right now, it's being an activist in education is tantamount to being on the front line. So that's what I do. Transforming school cultures is what I do around the country. And I enjoy the work. It's ministry to me. As you and I known each other, we've been in ministry together. It's an extension of ministry. And it's when I'm speaking, when I'm training, in some ways it's my pulpit. In some ways, I'm the pastor. In some ways, I'm the guest minister. In some ways, I'm the evangelist for the day, the minister of education, if you will.
Now, you mentioned, about how you work in the education system, and I mentioned even how you work with young men. You and I, like you stated earlier, have worked together over the years. And, me, doing the production side of things, recording, your conferences and things of that nature. And one of the things that I think is important to bring out is you did, several conferences where one in particular that stands out, and I wish we had the video clip of it ready to go. But the thing is that you did a conference where you brought in African-American high school students, I think maybe some middle school too, and high school students and their parents. Yeah. Which ironically, I wouldn't say ironically, which by and large were single mothers. And in fact, if I recall correctly, you kind of reached out to the single moms in particular to come out, and you held this conference. And some of the points that you brought out stuck with me. I remember you talking to them about, do you realize the hurt that you bring to your address when you're out here living this quote unquote thug life? The pain, the stress that you bring to your household, to your mom, to your family when something happens to you. Do you understand, those of you, how many of you think you want to go to the NBA? How many want to be rappers and all this other types of thing? And then there were actually those who had aspirations being NBA players. That's fine. You can have aspirations to do whatever it is, as long as it's legal and it's something positive. I'm all with you. But your point was, do you know the percentages of those who make it to the NBA? And it was something crazy like 1 out of 1 point something million, right? And that's why they call it the lottery, is what you said. And I remember that. It's like, because it's like 1 in a million chance that you're going to make it. And so you asked them, you said, so 1 out of this many, 1 point whatever million are making it to the NBA. And if you don't have a plan, if you're not educated and you can't get out here and do something, and you walked up to one of the young men, you said, what happens to you, my young brother, if you can't graduate? Right. Drop the mic. Right. And these brothers are in here, and of course, as teenagers do, and we all did it, especially as young men, we got our swag on, and we our whole body language is like, whatever, man, what time we getting out of here, but I gotta hope and believe that some of that stuck. And what really stuck with me was when you started breaking down how everything goes back to belief system, and that you should not be chasing money, but you should be chasing your purpose, and compensation comes with your purpose and everything. And you started breaking this down. Women, single mothers were literally in there crying. Yeah. And I don't want to get too far off track, because you talked about a lot of things as it dealt with the young African-American males, but I wanted to bring that out to say you have spent a lot of time working with parents, whether single moms, whether you work with dads, you work with parents, two-parent homes, you've worked with the individuals, you've worked with the school districts, all about helping. And yes, you've worked with the the schools that aren't just predominantly African-American as well. Sure. So I want to put it out there that what you do is not solely focused on African Americans, but I want to say that you have spent a concentrated amount, a large percentage of your time working with the African American community, particularly young Black men. And so that's how your story relates to what we're talking about here today, and how significant your research, your training, your experience, and what you've done relates to this conversation today. So I want to give you an opportunity to respond to what we are talking about today, and that is how we make immediate, effective change without the violence. And so one of the things that I started on, I told people, I said, listen, put your big boy, big girl pants on, because I'm going to say some things that's going to hit home for a lot of people.
Sure.
So we're talking about economics is the way to have swift action and change, right? Mm-hmm. So I talked about 3 months now, we've been going without, a lot of things that we want to do, a lot of things that we would normally do. So what would happen? What would it look like if not only one day we stop supporting certain entities? What would it look like if we stopped playing the lottery until we got real change?
Yeah, you really could have dropped the mic when you started talking about that. That is the true answer. That your line of thinking right now is the true answer. But if I could, Vince, let me say, even before I even get too much into our conversation, that I want to make sure I get this piece out, just in case we get too far down the line and I forget it. And that is, I want to be real clear to anybody who's listening to me or listening to your show right now. It's clear that I think we both agree on this, that the one thing we should all remember is that Mr. Floyd, Brother Floyd, he was an image bearer. This brother was made in the image of God. Let's start there. He was made in the image of God, and because of that, his life has value and dignity. And if we all can agree there, then we can build the conversation on top of that. If we can agree that this brother's life had value and dignity, then everything else will go somewhere else. But once we can agree, if I'm talking to one of my white brothers, one of my Hispanic brothers, one of my Asian brothers, and we can agree that Trayvon Martin's, that Floyd, that Eric Gardner, if we can agree, Abu Murray, if we can agree first and foremost that these brothers' lives had dignity and value, now we can start something. But if we can't even agree that this brother's life had dignity and value, then where are we going to go from here? And I would say that officer, his biggest problem was he did not believe in his mind or in his heart that Brother Floyd's life had dignity and value. So it was no problem for him to put his foot on this man's neck for 8 minutes and 43 seconds. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how he got there, because it started off when he got up that morning and put on his uniform and went into that community. He walked into that community not believing that some people that he might encounter, their lives had dignity and value. So I just want to make sure I said that first. And from there, I'll build anything that I may say on top of that. And that's where I start off at. If you and I can't agree there, then I
100% agree with you. I just want to really hone my attention on what can we do.
Right.
Trying to talk to them, to people who are truly racist, that ain't working.
Yeah,
that's not working.
And that was perfect.
Yeah.
That was perfect when you said that. That was powerful. So let me continue with your line of thought, because I think you're 100% right. Because here's the piece. I'm not even talking about the racist people. I'm talking about those of us who are in our community who don't even think that our sisters have dignity and value. They can't even get there. We call them bees and hoes and everything else. We put them on full screen. I mean, we put them on screen, shaking everything that God gave them, because in our minds, I ain't talking about the racist people, because you're exactly right when you say that. We're not even gonna talk to them, because it ain't no reaching them right now.
Right.
Even our own people, we don't start with the premise that my neighbor has dignity and value. That because if that were the case, if a brother stepped on my shoe, if a brother took my parking spot, I don't, if he cut me off in the lane, I don't get all on his face. I don't follow him home. Or how about something as simple as I'm not at the elementary school or the middle school selling death to my own people in my own community. And the only way you could do that is you have not come to the understanding, or one of the ways you most can sleep at night is say that these people don't have the dignity and value. And that's our biggest problem. And so we can put the races on the shelf. Mm-hmm. Right now, we have got to say we have dignity and value, and then we can get into having some real critical conversations about what we need to do to take back ownership of our lives. So when the brother that you were playing in video was talking about one day, that I totally agree with you, needs to morph into 5 days or 10 days or however long it takes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The only way we get to your answer is somebody's got to say, nah.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're just joining us live with Vince Elliott, I am Vince Elliott, the Vince Elliott, and I have with me Carlos Johnson, a.k.a. Coach Carlos, who is an activist in his own right, speaker, author, working with schools, working with young African-American men, working with students, teachers, faculty, and the like. And so we're talking today about what can we do to take control, not going to the government, waiting for them to be our source for change. Not, voting, great, do that. Protesting, great, do that. Marching, great, do that.
Right.
Rioting, no, don't do that. but those things combined are not going to get it done. And so we're talking about what can we do that doesn't take 2 years,
right,
to make some swift change. And I'm saying that economics hitting them in their pocket is what it's going to take. Now, here's the mindset. The mindset is we have to change a lot of for the lack of a better term, the stinking thinking, that we've had. Let me give you a case in point. You hear people say, "Oh, support black business," and then you got those that say, I would support black business, but brothers don't be doing right, And so here's the thinking, right? First of all, you got to understand that some services and some products might cost you a little bit more because we cannot provide those services and products at the same price point that our counterparts can because the system is stacked against us. So let's start with the fact that I hope everybody that's listening and watching understands that there is a systematic thing. There's a system in place since slavery to keep us oppressed economically and educationally. I don't have time to break all that down. If you don't know all of that, you're probably not going to be part of the solution. So let's just assume that you have enough awareness of your history that we are oppressed economically and educationally. The deck has been stacked against us, and not only stacked against us, but we are physically and economically in every way that you can think of being oppressed, suppressed, so that we cannot have an equal playing field. I don't want to hear anything about, this brother made it through. You got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I don't want to hear about the 2% that slipped through the cracks. I'm talking about, by and large, African Americans having the opportunity, not being redlined, not being, please don't, okay, you get what I'm saying, right? So here's the thinking. So when we buy our services and products from anybody else other than us, let's just call it what it is, from Caucasian people, companies, corporations, we're not buying those services and products going, oh man, they never made a mistake. I mean, these people are perfect. Wow. And I'm not going to call out any names of any corporations because I don't want to go there, right? Because I don't know everything about what these corporations are doing or not doing or the experiences people have had. But let's just suffice to say that none of them are perfect. You've had issues, you've called customer service. And yes, there are times where you say, you know what? I'm not dealing with that company anymore. I'm going to another company. And then you go from, most cases, from one Caucasian owned corporation to another one. So why is it that our thinking is, oh, see that brother, see, I'm through. We so quick to be done with each other. We can't stand ourselves. And give you case in point. I called an electrician who's a good friend of mine, had an electrical problem. He came out today, Friday, May 29th, as a matter of fact. Now, I've got history with this brother. I've seen him do work for a mutual entity. I've had him do work for me in the past. I know his integrity. I know his craftsmanship. I know his skill set. I know his commitment. And I know all of that, right? And I've had a wonderful experience. I called him to come out and fix this electrical problem. It wasn't a tier 1 situation where all my lights are out in my house and we couldn't function. It was a portion of my electricity that was out that was making it inconvenient for certain things that I had to do when I had to use those particular outlets. So yeah, I could wait a little bit, but I really wanted him to come as soon as possible. I called him, and forgive me if I'm off a little bit, I'm not going to say his name, but I called him about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. And I asked him if he could come out. Long story short, he was trying. He said he could. He said he would. It didn't happen the way he said or thought it would. Even when he did come back again, it did not happen when he said and how he said. But I didn't go, oh, see, that's what I'm talking about. See, I can't. Brothers, first of all, the brother lives somewhere between 30 to, and where he works, it could be anywhere from 30 to 50 miles away. So why not just look up somebody, because that's an essential worker, I would think. Why not get somebody local? Just come on over and fix this thing and be done. Yeah. No, I decided to keep my business because he's African-American, because I've got a history with him, and because he does good work. Now, here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm not saying, I should say. If you have an interaction with an African-American business, owned business, and they are taking advantage of you intentionally, consistently, the service is bad, the product is not of good quality, then no, they don't deserve your business no more than anybody else. Right. But I'm saying, if you have a bad experience, let that brother or that sister know in a way that they can hopefully receive it with some love and the criticism. Say, hey, I'm not happy. And then say, and you know what? The next time I come back, get it right, man, because I want to support you. Yeah, right. And if you can afford it, then do it. Make that decision that I'm going to go the extra mile and make that extra effort to support that business. And then let me say this. I'm going to go ahead and stay on this soap just for another minute, right? Another quick minute. We did a show on Monday, Memorial Day, right? And I've told people this show, and I want you all to comment, please, as you watch this thing. I want you to comment on what you're thinking about the show and all that other type of thing. We welcome people who disagree with us, as long as you do it respectfully, right? So we did a show on Monday, and I let people know, hey, this show is about information, education, inspiration, motivation. Yes, we do some comedy. Today on the show, we got this going on. We talked about entrepreneurs. We talked about, with one person, we talked about how you can make money in this entrepreneurial endeavor. We talked to somebody else about how you can take an existing business and franchise it, reach out to this person. We brought on the nonprofit, and we said, listen, as you see, the Cash App is up, right? We said, listen, we don't have sponsors for this show. We just, we hope that people will see the value in the information that we're giving that's going to improve the lives of the people, the viewers, give them information that they can use. We ask you, whatever you want to do, you go ahead and donate. We understand that the times are what they are, but we each one help one, each one teach one, all that type of thing. Do whatever you can, right? And we're going to give a portion of the proceeds, yeah, we're going to do this to help, keep the show going because I'm a producer. I can tell you what it takes to put a show like this together. It's more than just hitting record and getting on a microphone. It takes equipment, takes a lot of stuff, right? So we're going to use a portion of that for that. And we're going to use a portion to go and give to a 40-year foundation that is giving scholarships to people, particularly African Americans, who, excuse me if I get it wrong. I don't know if it's exclusively to African Americans, but they're giving money to high school graduates who want to go to college. If you give a portion of your money, is go to that. I've had over 700 people view that particular show. How many do you guess gave $1 or more? I'll give you one guess. You don't even have to say it. 0. Goose egg. Because our thinking, and I'm not just talking about me, I'm talking about others. Because I don't, I'm going to make my money, okay? And if I can't continue to do this because it's not being supported, so be it. We lose out on great information that can help us to move forward. However, my family going to eat regardless, all right? But what bothers me is the mentality, man, shoot, man, I whatever the excuse is, right? And put money in your pocket. But you value this, right? This is helping you, right? This is information you can use, right? You learning something, right? You being, even if you're being entertained, you're getting some value out of it. Can you share the video? Can you go log on to the YouTube page and subscribe so we can start monetizing just because we're getting a lot of views? Can you support it in that way? We're live on YouTube right now. The Vince Elliott. You can subscribe to it and hit the notification so you know what's going on. But what bothers me is that we value things differently because I guarantee you, even with the COVID going on, not everybody, but a vast majority of us are still ordering out. We still spending $10, $20, $30 a week when we at a fast food spot when we could be ordering out. But guess what? If the 700 people who viewed that other video had spent $1.25 a week, $5 a month, if 700 of them had done that, right? What's that?
Yeah.
$1 is 700, right?
$700. You do that times 5.
Do the math.
That's real easy.
That's 3,500. That would have been one scholarship.
Yeah.
A scholarship is $2,000 with the Rosa Parks Foundation, and the other part could have went towards the production. We could have paid for one child to be able to buy his books.
Yeah.
But our people. Now, let me give my disclaimer.
Yeah.
That's not all of our people. That's not everybody.
Good.
That's not everybody.
That's right.
But by and large, our mentality is, oh, brother, well, if I'm gonna support the black business, what's my discount? What's my hookup? I'm fed up because this is the type of thinking that stops us from coming together. Now let me get back on what I was talking about before when I talked about not going to the casino, not going not buying the lottery tickets, right? Also not going to the casino. Now let me give him another disclaimer. Your boy, Vince Elliott, 53 years old. I've been to the casino. Used to be a regular at one point in my life. I've bought lottery tickets in my life. I've gambled in many ways. It was one of my little things, particularly in my younger days. I shot the dice. I did the craps. 7-11, baby. Here, let's roll them. I've bet on bowling because I love to bowl. If you watching and you know me, you know I'm telling the truth. I bet on Tunk. I bet on a lot of card games. So I know what it feels like to have that desire planted in you and to want to gamble and to feel like, man, if I can just hit me a lick. I don't want to hear about your uncle who win all the time. That's one out of every 5,000 people,
Right.
10,000 million people.
Right.
But by and large, the majority of us who are gambling at the casino or buying those lottery tickets, if you add up how much you spent in the year, you are losing. Now, let's say I'm wrong, because I'm not perfect. I could be wrong. Let's say you're winning. You're still sowing into a system that if you stop and your friends stop and then you encourage other people, if we stop as a whole, we hit the pockets. Guess who's in the casino downtown Detroit? Guess what the overwhelming majority of people is down there? I don't know what the number is. It's probably well over 80%. Us. We're keeping them alive. Guess who owns it? Not us. Not in large numbers. We might have a brother that slipped up in there. He got a piece of the pie. I think they did something where they said, oh, you got to give some of these dollars, off to, but it's like they laughing at us. Remember when the lottery first came out?
That's
and they
right.
said, oh, the dollar's going towards education. How's that working out? How your schools looking in the inner city?
Yeah.
I mean, the lottery right now, it's up to Mega Millions. And I'm going to tell you, boy, I saw it. I was like, man, if the Lord, I could ask for forgiveness after I get the money, but I probably shouldn't play. It's up to over 300, almost $400 million.
Yeah.
And there's some of us that'd be like, okay, once, I got to lay this, I got to do what I got to do once I get to a certain point because we're too comfortable. We're not willing to sacrifice. So let me go to, I want to go to some people online who have comments or may have questions. I want to give them an opportunity to be able to say some things because, as you can tell, this is something I'm very passionate about. I can rant on and on about. I want people to come on. I want to hear your comments. I want to hear your questions. If you got a question for Coach Carlos in terms of what he does, if you got some comments, even if you got some disagreements, you got some things you want to say, because I got to take this thing and I got another leg of it I got to add to it. But what would that look like? Think about that for a minute. What would that look like? No lottery till we see change. No casinos till we see change. No supporting, no cable TV. I'm cut my subscription. You think they're not going to welcome you back when you come back? We ain't got enough online stuff. Okay, well, maybe, can we sacrifice a little bit? Can we just keep the internet and cut the cable TV?
Yeah.
But it's got to be a group effort. And then watch what they do. Watch what they do. Remember we had Black Wall Street? Remember how they burned down? Because they had a loss. They don't know what to do. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
See, because when you riot, I can lock you up. Mm-hmm. When you doing all those, but if I'm sitting at home with my money in my pocket, now, oh, wait a minute. You say what you want? What y'all need? Wait, I'm listening now. I'm listening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, so let's see. So Melanie says, good points. What does Coach Carlos think? So I've been doing a lot of talking. So I'm just going to let you chime in, and then if we get some more questions, we'll go to those questions. I'm going to let you respond.
Her question is, what do I think in terms of the direction you took it in terms of how we should respond economically? If that's her question, then my response is I think there's a three-pronged phase, and it needs to be spiritual. It's, for me, any response has got to be spiritual. We cannot respond and not have God on our side. I don't want to go into any battle without God on my side. So the response has got to be spiritual for sure. And I don't mean just the the prayer, like we said, we pray for the family. We pray. I don't mean that. I mean, Lord, which direction should we go? How should we respond? Who should we respond with? Lord, what would you have me do? Should I lead? Should I follow? Should I do this? Looking for some heaven sent marching orders. So that's one part of the response. The other response does need to be economical. Let's be real clear. This is not a democracy as much as this country is ran by capitalism. First, it's a capitalistic society, then it's a democratic society. He who controls the goal makes the rules. And so we do have to have a spiritual response, but we do have to have an economic response. We have to be able to influence, control dollars. And if you want a good example of that, it's not about the number of people in the census in your ethnic group. Because if that were the case, Jews in this country wouldn't have any juice. But they're a smaller percentage, ethnically speaking, in this country, but they control so much because they have learned that this country is first and foremost a capitalistic society. Then it's a democratic society. If you want another example of that, look now what the Indians are showing us and how they are pooling their dollars together. And I'm not sure where anybody is, but if you're in this country, you have to see how our Hispanic brethren are pooling their resources together because they understand intimately how this country runs. So yes, our one response must be spiritual first and foremost. It also must be economically driven. Brother Vince, you showed in the video, and the guy gave us the example of how in the civil rights movement, we created the first Uber when, we said, okay, this is what we'll do. We won't ride your buses. You want us to ride in the back and pay? Okay, we'll create our own system of transportation. And we shut it down. I hate we did what we normally do is once we get a little bit growing, we go back to riding the buses again, instead of creating our own economic base. What do? And Brother Malcolm X fought with Dr. Martin Luther King about this. They later on at the end of Dr. Martin Luther King's life, he began to understand where Brother Malcolm was coming from. That doesn't make me a Muslim. If anybody's listening, that doesn't make me a Muslim. We're talking about principle. It wasn't about fighting to sit at a man's counter to give us his money. Brother Malcolm thought that was idiotic because he understood capitalism. That's how you run things in this country. You don't fight to give somebody your money. So we got to have a spiritual response. And then we have to have an economic response. We've got to, and then we have to have a political response. We do have to be involved in politics. Mm-hmm. My personal strategy is not so much on the federal level. I'm not saying don't vote at the federal level. You still want to vote for your president. But wherever we live, those local elections are powerful. Let's take for example, what's going on in Minneapolis now. There's some people that could very well get voted out now. You don't think that mayor is concerned about how the people will vote? Mm-hmm. You don't think the prosecuting attorney is concerned? You don't think that the state's attorney? You don't think that judges? Folk at the local level are extremely sensitive to how we vote. Maybe not at the federal level, but at your local level. So if that was the question that the sister was asking, then my strategy would be first, anything we've got to do has got to be bathed in prayer. It's got to be a spiritual battle. Second thing is it's got to be economical. Anybody who has a response in the 21st century now that does not first and foremost include economics, I mean, what? What you gonna do? How you gonna carry it out? You just gonna march? We shall open. No. You've got to respond with some dollars. And then secondly, we've got to be political. We've got to be involved in this game at the very least at the local level. If you don't want to go federal, cool, I get it. But the local level is you can feel the change on the local level. You can see the people, the vote, all the voting issues. That's you're talking about the Secretary of State. You're talking about, that's at your local level. So I hope I did my best to answer that question, but that would be, if I'm the guy that's leading it, then that's how I live my life. I live my life spiritually first, then economically second, and then thirdly, I get political. That would be my advice.
Yeah. So if you're just joining us and you missed all my disclaimers, I'm not going to give them all again, but I'll just tell you real quick. A few things is that, number one, this is Carlos Johnson, known as Coach Carlos. He is the founder of Image of Success. And one of the things that he does is he helps transform schools. He does that by working with parents, students, principals, district, all the folks that are involved with the education system to help them to increase academic success. He also works with African American families. He has Back to the Family, which is dealing with family structure and really just bringing families together from a spiritual perspective. And then he works very closely with young African American men, preparing them for the America that they live in and how to best be prepared. And so we're talking today, what do we do now? Black people, wake up. Why are we supporting our oppressor? And so we've had some different dialogue thus far about what we can do. And I think he just articulated, if you've been listening, his perspective on, and I agree with it, on how we approach change. And I think I've said it earlier, if you missed it, that one day of not, spending money is not going to do it. I know the history of our people. We're going to double down either before today or we're going to double down after today, and they're going to laugh at us. They're just going to laugh at us. One day, theoretically, would put a dent. If we stop flying for one day, just imagine what that would do. If we stop playing the lottery, if we stop going to casino, if we stop going to restaurants, one day collectively, yes, that would put a dent, but it would repay them if we double down before or double down after that day. I'm saying that we've been dealing with this foolishness so long that why don't we learn from the quarantine? You can go 3 months and still survive without doing all of that stuff. So why not stop doing all of that stuff unified and listen, there are going to be those who say, oh, well, we're going to hurt our own economy. Look, listen to me. If you are already drowning, barely keeping your head above water, you dodging sharks and you hoping that you ain't the next one to get bit, what good is it that you trying to save the boat? Listen, everything gonna get destroyed till everybody get right.
Yeah.
Everybody going down until we all get right.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of, I don't even remember which movie it was, but I think it was Denzel or somebody. Look, if we gonna die my way. Listen, I'm not about to continue to fund my oppression. Yeah. And that's what we're doing. So, my brother said, he agrees. I've been saying this exactly. One day unified, not buying or patronizing. As much as I respect that, I don't agree with it 100%. We need more than a day. We need to quit doubling down. So I just want to, I mean, we could talk about this in so many different ways, but I want to wrap this thing up because this is really, I just want to hit this particular point really strong. I didn't want to spend a lot of time talking about the incident. We all know what happened. That's just one incident. I mean, we got the one that happened before that and the 15, 30, 80, 100, 10,000 that happened before that we could talk about. That's not where we need action now. And I believe education and economics is the way to do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, the other thing, brother, I don't want to leave you or anyone listening to this program without just asking people to look at another part of this strategy. And again, I don't hear you saying, and I'm certainly not saying that this is everybody, but there is a small percentage of people who is bringing this pain on our community. Small percentage, but it's a huge pain. By and large, everybody agrees that this was wrong. Abu Murray's death was wrong. Eric Gardner's death was wrong. Trayvon Martin's death was wrong. 9 out of 10 people agree. So we talking about that small group of people who are doing this. But I want to be real clear about this strategy that's being implemented in our group. That's not a new strategy. It's not a new strategy, and not only in America, but in world history. And so I'm hoping that those who are hearing will hear me as best as I can be clear now, is that if you want to take over a people, if you want to weaken a people, if you want to eliminate a good general always starts by killing the men first. You gotta kill the men first. This is not a new strategy. It's a tried and proven strategy. You kill the men first. I mean, let's talk about scripture. I mean, what did we learn from scripture? The Egyptians were multiplying, and the word says that the king said, we have to deal harshly with them, because if they grow too large, they might join with one of our enemies. So what was his strategy? You tell the midwives that if a woman's pregnant and if she has a girl, you let her live. But if it's a boy, you kill him. Because if you want to take over a group of people, you have to kill the male child.
And notice more and more that the incidents that you're hearing about are alpha males. Yeah. Mr. Floyd was involved and a believer who was involved in making change in his community. He moved to Minneapolis to improve his life. He wasn't a perfect man, but the thing is that he was about doing something. Yeah. He was getting counseled and everything else. Yeah. So this is strategic.
You gotta do that. Once you kill the male, the women are they have no covering anymore. Mm-hmm. Their covering is removed. Then you can move in. So our boys right now are being locked up, dumbed up because of education, drugged up because of drugs, and gayed up. Now I know folk gonna be mad at me about that. Oh yeah. But our young boys are being locked up, they're being dumbed up, they're being drugged up, and they're being gayed up. Mm-hmm. For those of you all who think they were born that way, have it your way. But that ain't all of them. This is an intentional plan to kill the male child. Because if I take out the men, women will be defenseless.
Now, let me jump in again. this is very difficult to not just keep going down. And because it's not like we're going to continue saying the same thing. I mean, there's so many different, you just introduced another one. And I got one more that I want to touch real quickly on. But before I do that, I want to allow Hazel has a question for you in terms of what you do. So her question is, do you work with school system in all states? I know the answer, but I'm gonna let you respond because it's your question.
Sister Hazel, yes, I am a national educational consultant. And fortunately, I've been blessed to travel all over this country and indeed parts of this world to work with school systems, and not only traditional public schools, but also charter schools. For the past 3 years, I've operated an all-male academy where our young men are doing phenomenal. But to answer your question straight to the point, I work with school systems all around the country.
Okay. Well, I want to touch on one last point. Before I do that, let me give my commercial for whatever it's worth. This program, this show is intended. Now, typically, for those of you who saw the beginning of the show, or if you didn't, I start the show off with some humor. I do, some pre-recorded skits, or I might have somebody on, some comedian or something like that. We are not always going to have these intense type of conversations. It's meant to be a variety show where we might talk to an artist, we might talk to comedians, we might, people of interest, all types of people, somewhat like the Tonight Show. But tonight, I felt this was very necessary, and I didn't do any comedy in the beginning of the show. That being said, I want to do a quick, so I said the show is about information, education, inspiration, motivation, and yes, we're going to have some laughs. And right now, we're not looking at we don't have any sponsors lined up or anything like that. And so, my thought was, if we had, 1,000, maybe even 2,000 people that gave $1.25 to that Cash App you see right there down on your screen a week, $1.25 a week, 2,000 people did that, we would be able to expand this show. We'd be able to pay for certain people to come on the show that we think bring value, who require a stipend to come on to the show. We'd be able to upgrade our equipment. We'd be able to bring a staff on so that we don't have some of those hiccups that you see, because I'm like an octopus over here. I'm reaching over here. I'm reaching over there. And, we'd be able to put more time and effort into research because we'd have associate producers. There's a lot more we'd be able to do with the show. I think the show is valuable. Hopefully you think the show is valuable and what you've seen so far. So, whether you decide to do $1.25 a week, or whether you say, I'm just going to drop X number of dollars on you right now, understand that we are a show that not only is about giving you value, but there are times we're going to have nonprofits on and things like that, and we're going to give back. There are times where we're going to go out into the field, is what we intend to do, and be able to just do random acts of kindness. So there's things that we're going to be able to do with the show. So I want us to get past that mentality, and understand why we need to support things like this, because there's a lot of things going on the internet that we are supporting that is not giving us nothing short of entertainment value. What about something like this? So that's my commercial for that. Now let me move quickly into something that we're going to discuss real quickly, and that is, understand that every white person is not your enemy. Now, that may be a tough message to hear right now, because, right now it's all about black folks, and that's all I want to hear right now. But I say that because there are those of our the white counterparts who are standing with us. You've seen it. They're standing with us. They're supporting us. And there are a number of them that are standing up saying, listen, we not only want to stand with you, it's our responsibility to speak out against those who look like us, who are perpetuating this oppression, and who are doing these things. And I could not play the whole clip because it was just too long, but I have a woman here who did a video online. It got, last I checked, 8.5 million views. Her name is Melissa McCrary, and you can find her on Facebook. and see the whole video. But she was making the point that, and I'm going to play a clip here in a moment, but she was making the point that she said, people are reaching out to her saying, we thank you, African-American people, we thank you for walking alongside. She said, listen, I don't want this to come across wrong, but I don't want you to walk beside us. Just like I would protect my children or somebody else who I felt had a disadvantage and were being taken advantage of, you need to, in this sense, be behind us, not in a subservient way, but in a way that says, this is our issue, our problem. Not it's your issue, but it's our fault. We need to hold accountable our people and speak on your behalf. Not that you got to be quiet, but let us be the forerunners to say, this isn't right. Here's what she had to say.
I don't get the racism thing. So I have been one of the people that have been like, no, this can't be racially motivated. And I hear the Black community with, the Black Lives Matter and all this stuff. And I hear them and saying there's so much racism going on. And for people like me that don't have a grid for racism, I don't see it because I don't relate to it. So first of all, forgive me for not having that lens. I don't ever want to have that lens. But I don't also want to detract from my brothers and sisters that are going through hell. And if that is the case, it is going to take every freaking white American to stand up and make a difference. To stand up and say, oh, hell no, not in my country, not on my watch, not in my lifetime. This is going to stop. If this is actually what's going on, that we have Black Americans that are literally afraid of law enforcement because this kind of crap is going on, it's not the Black Americans' responsibility to stand up and try and change that. If it is rooted in racism, if it is rooted in any kind of white supremacist crap, it is our job to stand up. We need to stand up and look at whoever this is, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's whatever organization of white people, and say, oh, hell no, you are not American. Oh, hell no, you don't embody what we stand for. And oh, hell no, you're not welcome in this country, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how to fix this problem other than every white American using their peer pressure and saying, this is not okay. And I will say the only thing I can think of that might change this within law enforcement is there needs to be, special circumstances that if a law enforcement officer unduly causes the death of no matter what color the person is, they need to be prosecuted worse because they're supposed to have a standard that is far and above beyond any of us, right? They're law enforcement. They should be elevated to a much higher standard and bar than the rest of us. Therefore, in my opinion, they should be prosecuted at a higher standard. In my opinion only. And you guys can disagree. You can say I'm half cocked. I don't really care. My opinion, those officers need to face the death penalty. Period.
60 seconds, your closing thoughts.
Doc, in many ways, she's on point. But I look at what she said. I think the candle needs to be burned at both ends. So we do need to make sure that our voice is heard because there are some unique things that only our voices can say. We do need to make our demands made. And there are some unique demands that she could not represent. At the same time, she is exactly right. There are some unique things that her certain group needs to say to her certain group. Somebody needs to say to these women in our country, our white sisters in our country who believe that whenever they see a Black man, that the police are their own security force, that I have the right to call the police on any Black man that I want to. and they will respond. She needs to say, she does need to speak to that. She does need to speak to the husbands who come home and teach their children that there's a certain group of people who are genetically inferior to them or genetically predisposed to violence. So be fearful of them. So there are some conversations that they do need to have. They need to have in their own home. I totally 100% agree with her, and I thank her for her bravery. But the candle needs to be burned at both ends. They need to have their conversation, and our conversation needs to be front and center to the powers that be for what we need to say. I mean, only Colin Kaepernick could have said it the way it needed to be said. I'm taking a knee.
Yeah.
He had to do that. He had to say that. The Jim Browns of the world, the Muhammad Ali's of the world, the floods of the world. They had to do what they had to do. The Rosa Parks. I mean, only Rosa Parks couldn't sit down and say, I'm not giving up my seat to a white man. A white person couldn't have done that and had the same effect.
Right.
So I agree with that sister. I thank that sister for what she's doing. It needs to happen, but the candle needs to be burned at both ends. Black folk need to have some conversations in our own home. How do we purchase? How do we purchase music, entertainment that destroys our own system?
Well,
destroys our own brothers.
Well, and that's a part two. If we go there, you know, like I said, this well is a lot deeper than what we can cover in the hour and a half that we've been on. So I want to close it here and thank you for coming on. Thank you for your input.
Thanks for having me.
We need to have some contact information on how people can reach you. How do you want them to reach you if they want to have you come out and speak to their schools or be involved?
For me, it's real simple. I'm on all the social media platforms: Twitter, Facebook, IG. I'm everywhere. But Coach Carlos, you can search me anywhere there. You can online. You can go to carlosjohnson.org. On Twitter, just go to Coach Carlos J. On IG, Coach Carlos J. On Facebook, just Carlos Johnson or Image of Success.
That's a lot, brother.
Easy. Yeah.
So we're going to start with the carlosjohnson.org, because that's really easy to remember. Got it up there on the screen. Brother, thank you for coming on, man. And we'll talk again. Appreciate you.
All right, be blessed. Thank you.
That was Carlos Johnson, Coach Carlos. And I want to hear from you guys real quick before we close out. If you have any comments, questions that you want to ask or something you want to say before we go out, I want to give you an opportunity to say that. But I'm going to wrap it up here and leave my little button on, you know, kind of what I wanted to leave you thinking about. And that is what I said on a couple of occasions during this broadcast. And that is, one, voting is good. Do that. Marching is good. Do that. Protesting is wonderful. Do that. Rioting is not good. Don't do that. All three, even if you include the fourth one, will not get you the results that need to happen swiftly, permanently, the way they need to happen. What will is not supporting and funding your oppression. One day, in my humble opinion, is not going to do it. Because I know some of you all, you're going to double down before the day. You're going to double down after the day and make sure that your oppressor, and I know you might not like me to say it like that, but you're going to make sure that your oppressor is well taken care of. I meant to mention this earlier, but I know I'm going to open up a can of worms, but I'm going to say it real quick, and then I'm going to just run. And get my disclaimer first. My mother died of cancer in 2013. Prior to that, She had cancer, and they got rid of it with the radiation, everything in '97, and it didn't come back again till 2012 or whatever it was. And so, not only my mother, but I got an uncle, I got relatives, I got people on both sides of the family who have lost their lives to cancer. My brother-in-law died of cancer. His sister died from cancer. His mother died from cancer. People who were near and dear to my heart, including my mother, and loved dearly, had relationships with, died from cancer. Hold on, because what I'm about to say is going to make some of y'all go, oh my goodness. Stop giving money to the cure for cancer. Stop it. You ain't doing nothing towards the cure. Oh, they're going to play the music. Oh, you're going to see all of these hospitals, and you're going and a voiceover is going to come on, and it's going to be like, support a kid for the recovery. You can help a life, save a life, let them go to Disney World. All of that sounds good. They're using you with that message. They're using you with those images. They're never, ever in this lifetime going to cure cancer. Why do I say that? Because too many of their family, their generations have become millionaires and billionaires off of your dollar, off of your $5 that you keep giving at the cash register, at the gas station, and everywhere else. You want to run for a marathon? Run for the exercise. Take off those ribbons that say we're gonna do the cure. Now, if you're wearing the ribbon because you're remembering somebody that you loved and you lost, so be it. Quit giving money for a cure that's never going to happen. We can talk about the girl from TLC who was coming back because she was going to talk about the cure for cancer exists. Yeah, we can talk about that and how she was murdered. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. They're not going to cure cancer. So don't get on your soapbox and be like, oh, well, don't talk about that because my loved one died from cancer. Mine did too, several of them, in the tens, in the double digits, personal, close family members and friends of mine. I'm not insensitive to death by cancer. What I'm telling you is nobody, no entity, it's systematic. There's a reason why they haven't cured. Just hang on for a second. Use just a little bit of thinking and common sense for a second. How many years are they been trying to cure cancer? With all the technology and everything, the science that we've got, and all the strides we've made, it's been about like 40 years plus trying to cure this cancer. And you know what? We almost there. Because don't forget, cousin Johnny, he's still living today because, he did the radiation and all of that. But the treatment, although it may sustain life, there's some success stories. By and large, people, that's why you got to quit being fooled. By and large, the bottom line is they're not going to cure it. Cancer's not going away. You're going to keep giving to it because guess what? If you can just give us another $1. Just if you can just, because we know we're tugging on your heartstrings, if you could just give us one more $1 at the cash register, if you could just put another $5 in, we almost there. We almost got it. Just give us another $1. And you and the other 50 million people that give $1, $5, $1 is 50 million, $10 is 500 million. And while they smoking cigars on their beachfront houses in those hospitals that they built monstrosity hospitals, but they just can't seem to cure it. 40 years. Can't seem to cure it. All right, I'm off of that. What you can give to is towards a show like this, gives you information, education, inspiration, motivation, and yes, we'll have a few laughs. Every show's not going to be this deep. So here's what I need for you to do. Not only can you go to the Cash App and support that, Let me get that back up here. Let's see, where are we here? See, this is why I'm working alone. So not only can you give $1.25 a week, or you can do a lump sum, however you want to do it. Our goal is to get 1,000 or 2,000 people to do $1.25 a week on the Cash App to support it, so we can do the things that I named earlier. And we're also going to be able to help other institutions and good causes. But what you can also do, and what you really need to do, is go to the YouTube channel. If you're not watching the YouTube channel already, The Vince Elliott, and subscribe. You need to do that now as we close out. You need to subscribe to that and hit the notification button. And that way you will get notified when we are going live or when we post another video. I got to stop right there, folks. It's been a little bit over an hour and a half. We're at an hour and 40 minutes. If you're watching the replay, just hit in the comments that you're watching the replay. And if you're watching live, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your support. And we will, right now we're looking at doing this every Friday. We'd love to build it up to where we're doing it 5 days a week. Right now we're doing it every Friday, and 8 o'clock is the time. We'll always log on a few minutes beforehand to give you an opportunity to get in there and catch everything from the very beginning. We appreciate you. I appreciate you, love you. And I will look for those comments and respond to those comments that come up later afterwards in the replay. I understand that more people watch in the replay than actually watch on the live in most cases. So I'm Vince Elliott. I am the Vince Elliott. This is Live with Vince Elliott. And till next time.